There is no such thing as freedom. Freedom is two words, a free domain. If they could just understand that when they think of freedom, they could think of the word price beside it, because it was a terrible price to pay.
We need to tell the story to our young people that the freedom, democracy they enjoy today cannot be taken for granted. They need to hear and learn that there was ultimate sacrifices made for us to enjoy the freedom which we have today.
Nishnawbe Aski Nation's 28th Kiwewin Chiefs Assembly was hosted by Chapleau Cree First Nation in August 2009. The assembly began with an historic event, a special ceremony honoring Nishnawbe Aski Nation veterans. Nishnawbe Aski leadership wanted to ensure that the significant wartime contributions of First Nation veterans be forever remembered and recognized for generations to come.
To me, it is recognizing the really quite incredible contribution of Aboriginal people to the Canadian Forces of Canada. Most Canadians don't know about that contribution, and many Aboriginal people do not. Really, for the size of the Aboriginal population at that time, they were the largest serving group of people in the Canadian Forces, and they performed with great distinction in both the First and Second World War, and latterly in the Korean conflict.
From code breakers to nurses in battlefront positions to transport drivers to Air Force photographers doing cartography, they did it. But we weren't acknowledged. There was never any traditional acknowledgement of the contributions, and they're absolutely tremendous.
There has to be empowerment through accurate reflection of the history and the contributions that we made to the well-being of Canada as a whole. A story needs to be told to the general public, the sacrifices, the contributions Aboriginal men and women made during the world conflicts.
First Nations people, Indigenous and First Nations people of Canada, look at Mother Earth as their lifeline. Their responsibility is to take care of Mother Earth. When an Aboriginal person goes in and makes a contract, they will do everything they can to fulfill that contract. And many of our veterans stepped up to ensure that our treaties were secure, because if the other side won, the other signatory was no longer able to commit to those treaties, and the treaties would be non-existent. This was talked about in my family many, many times.
We enjoy freedom today as a result of our people's ultimate sacrifices.
I was born here in Chapleau in July 12, 1920, but I left here in 1939 to join the services after the war broke out.
My name is Wynne. I'm from Moose Factory, Ontario. When I enlisted in the service, I was 18. Stayed in Canada about a little over a year, and they shipped me overseas after that.
And in October 1941, I went overseas to England, trained there in preparation for the invasion of Europe. We were designed and trained to fight and destroy tanks. We had 85% accuracy. That's remarkable. That's good gunnery. It can be likened to a sharpshooter.
During my training in Canada, I was promoted to Lance Bombardier. Then a short while after, I was a full bombardier, 2 stripes. I was very pleased with my rank I had. I was very pleased. Because my father never got out of rank when he went over.
Then we entered France in June, went through the Battle of Normandy. Our position was to clear mostly the western part of Europe.
And I went to the seaport of Antwerp. That's where I went. I landed there. From Antwerp, I went to Brussels. I was there for about 2 weeks, I guess. And I met one fellow from Moose Factory. His name was John Smallboy. He was in Italy.
We followed down on the west side of the Rhine River to a place called Wessel. From Wessel, they sent us back up into Holland instead of going on through Germany to meet up with the British and American armies. They turned us back into Holland to clear the ports and that.
I all went to England and France, Belgium and Netherlands and part of Germany. And that's where I turned back when the war ended.
We're headed on the road to Bremerhaven when we were signaled to halt, that the German army in the west and facing the Canadian army were prepared to surrender.
The First Nation veterans, the only thing I could say there is some of them didn't return. They were buried overseas. I never seen the cemetery where they were buried, you know.
The signal was that to prepare for the surrender of the enemy. And until that time, we were to get rid of all our ammunition. We were to fire off every round into the enemy. And that went on until we ran out of ammunition. And in the morning, the signal came through that we were to start taking prisoners. As they came in, we would disarm them. For us, that meant that we'd survive the war. But we left behind a lot of friends that weren't going to come home.
Future generations need to make every effort to ensure that there is peace, there is freedom and democracy in what is now known as Canada for all of us.
The fact that the leadership is promoting the recognition, not of the veteran particularly, but the recognition of the fact there was something done to help the young people enjoy what's available to them today. And if they can just see it in that light, take advantage of education, and take advantage of making a contribution themselves, not necessarily in the service of the Army or Air Force or anything like that, but their contribution culturally is something that I can feel that it was a success, and for me, that's how I look at it.